The steady thrum of windshield wipers barely keeps pace with the rain as I grip the steering wheel, my knuckles white against the black leather. A flash of lightning illuminates the stretch of highway ahead, and thunder rolls across the Texas sky like bowling balls down infinite lanes. My phone lights up again. Cole's name pulses on the screen, demanding attention I can't give. Not now. Not with Denise's voice still ringing in my ears. Haley, I can't see. I think my eye is rupturing. The raw fear in her words had cut through my peaceful morning coffee ritual, shattering the quiet of my grandmother's kitchen. I'd knocked over my cup in my rush to grab my keys, leaving a brown stain spreading across the floor like spilled secrets. I'm coming, I'd promised, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Hold on, Denise. Just hold on. The phone stops ringing, only to ping with a text. At the next red light, I glance down. Cole. Tell her I hope she's okay, but don't forget dinner's at 6. My hands tremble against the leather steering wheel. The light turns green, but I sit frozen for a moment, remembering Cole's face this morning. The way his eyes lit up, talking about his brother flying in from Colorado. First time in 2 years, Hales, he'd said, wrapping his arms around my waist as I made breakfast. Everyone's coming. It needs to be perfect. Perfect. The word tastes bitter now. Another text arrives. Cole, babe, you there? I don't respond, speed up, and I am finally in front of the hospital. The hospital exit sign appears through the rain. Bold white letters against green metal. My turn signal clicks in time with my racing heart as I make my choice. The emergency room parking lot stretches before me, half empty on this stormy afternoon now. I pull into a spot near the entrance, cut the engine, and watch the rain hammer against my windshield. My phone buzzes again. And again. Cole. Can her wife help her? Cole. My family is waiting. Cole. We talked about this dinner for weeks. The words blur as tears fill my eyes. I blink them away, focusing on the harsh fluorescent glow of the hospital entrance. A nurse hustles a patient in a wheelchair through the automatic doors, both of them hunched against the rain. My phone rings one more time. Cole's contact photo fills the screen. The two of us at his cousin's wedding last summer, his arm around my waist, both of us smiling. We look happy, we look perfect. I press decline and whisper to the empty car. I choose my sister, and enter the hospital. The waiting room smells of antiseptic and stale coffee. My wet shoes squeak against the linoleum as I approach the desk. Before I can speak, a door opens and Denise appears in a wheelchair, one hand pressed against her right eye. The sight of her makes my breath catch. My strong, capable big sister looking small under the harsh lights. Haley. She reaches for me with her free hand. I grasp it, noting how cold her fingers feel. Family of Denise Carmichael? A doctor in blue scrubs approaches, tablet in hand. Her expression carries the weight of urgency. We need to move quickly. Without immediate surgery, she could lose her vision permanently. Denise's grip tightens on my hand. My phone vibrates in my pocket. Cole's final message for the day. You've made your choice. Hours pass in a blur of consent forms and updates. The clock on the wall creeps past 10 as the surgeon finally emerges, still in her surgical cap. The procedure went well, he says, and I feel 6 hours of tension begin to unwind from my shoulders. I see my sister after the operation, sleeping. And after I stayed for 2-3 more hours, she woke up after the surgery, so I was able to return home. The drive home feels longer than the frantic journey to the hospital. My headlights cut through the now gentle rain, illuminating empty streets. Each mile brings me closer to the confrontation waiting at home. When I pull into my driveway, the house is dark except for a single lamp glowing in the living room window. I know what I'll find inside. Cole sitting in my grandmother's favorite armchair, his silhouette rigid with disapproval. I rest my forehead against the steering wheel for just a moment, gathering strength. Then I straighten my spine, grab my purse, and walk toward my front door. The key turns in the lock, with a sound like fate deciding. Cole doesn't move as I enter. His voice cuts through the darkness, precise and cold as a surgeon's blade. We need to talk about your priorities. In the shadows, I think of Denise's hand in mine, of promises made and kept, of choices that reveal who we truly are. And I know, with a clarity that burns, that this conversation will change everything. My grandmother's kitchen still smells like coffee, but the warmth has leaked out of the house. 3 days of silence spread frost across every surface. Cole sleeps on the couch, his back a wall between us. The television murmurs late into the night, filling spaces where our conversations used to live. I stand at the stove, stirring his favorite beef stew. Steam rises from the pot, carrying the scent of rosemary and thyme herbs from my grandmother's garden. A note waits on the counter beside his keys. I miss you. Can we talk? 4 identical notes have already found their way to the trash. The spoon clatters against the pot as my hand trembles. Dinner's ready, I call out, my voice smaller than I mean it to be. The couch creaks. Footsteps approach, then stop. When I turn, Cole stands in the doorway, arms crossed. The distance between us stretches wider than the kitchen. Cole, please. My fingers reach toward his arm. He flinches away, and something inside my chest cracks. Tears blur my vision as I sink into a kitchen chair. I don't understand. She's my sister. She could have lost her eye. What was I supposed to do? Once we're married, my family comes first. Always. His voice carries the chill of northern Colorado winters. You better get used to it. The wooden chair back presses against my spine as I straighten. It was an emergency. If your brother had been... Your sister has a wife for that. His hand cuts through the air, dismissing Denise like yesterday's newspaper. She didn't need you holding her hand like a child. Something shifts in my chest, like a curtain pulling back to reveal an unfamiliar landscape. I study Cole's face, the hard set of his jaw, the cold calculation in eyes I once thought sparkled with kindness. How long has this stranger been living in my house? Weeks pass. The frost thaws into a fragile spring, but winter lingers in the corners of our smiles. At Sunday dinner with Cole's family, his mother asks about Denise. How's her recovery going, honey? Such a frightening thing, almost losing your vision. Barbara reaches across the table to pat my hand. Before I can answer, Cole's sister Sarah chimes in. Mom had laser surgery last year. Scared us all half to death, didn't it? I pull out my phone, grateful for the opening. Denise sent me a picture yesterday. The doctor says the healing is right on schedule. I show them the close-up of my sister's eye, the redness fading to reveal familiar flecks of gold. Thank the Lord, Barbara says, crossing herself. You must have been so worried, being there through the surgery. Cole's fork scrapes against his plate. His jaw clenches tighter with each sympathetic murmur from his family. The drive home stretches taut with unspoken words. Cole's knuckles whiten against the steering wheel as we turn onto our street. You made the whole dinner about your family's problems. The words explode from him before the garage door finishes closing. Every single time you have to bring up your sister. They asked about her. My voice sounds far away, like it belongs to someone else. What was I supposed to say? Nothing. You say nothing because I told them you were working late that night. He slams the car door. The garage walls amplify the sound. Family doesn't need to know about your sister's issues. You lied? The question floats between us like smoke. I protected our image. My family expects certain things. He stalks toward the house. A wife needs to understand her priorities. My engagement ring catches the overhead light, throwing rainbows against the windshield. Each sparkle feels like a warning sign I should have seen months ago. Later that night, I curl up in my grandmother's rocking chair, phone pressed to my ear. The porch swing creaks in the wind, a sound that used to mean home. This doesn't sound like the Cole you described. Jenny's voice carries 20 years of friendship and concern. The Cole from your stories would never make you choose between him and Denise. Maybe I never really knew him. The admission tastes like copper pennies. There were signs, little things I ignored because they didn't fit the picture in my head. Jenny pauses. The silence fills with years of shared secrets. My cousin practices real estate law. Want her number? The deed to my grandmother's house rests in my lap, her careful signature a reminder of choices made with love. My fingers trace the embossed seal as Jenny tells me about private consultations and legal options. I need to know what my choices are. The words come out stronger than I expect. This is my home. She left it to me. Yes, Jenny says softly. Your home, not his. The porch swing creaks again. For the first time in weeks, the sound carries hope instead of loss. When can I meet with your cousin? A week later at the real estate office, papers fan across the mahogany desk like fallen autumn leaves. My hands hover over property records, bank statements, and utility bills stretching back 6 years. The real estate attorney adjusts her wire-rimmed glasses, tapping a manicured finger against a highlighted section of the deed. Let me be clear, Miss Carmichael. The house is solely in your name. Your grandmother's estate planning was meticulous. She slides the document closer. Mr. Anderson has no legal claim to this property. My shoulders drop an inch. The knot in my stomach loosens just a fraction. What about the improvements? The new kitchen counters, the back deck. The words catch. Cole's voice echoes in my head. I'm investing in our future, babe. Did you maintain records of these expenses? I pull a spreadsheet from my bag. Every receipt, every Venmo transaction, every shared bill since the day Cole moved in. The attorney's eyebrows lift as she scans the detailed columns. This level of documentation makes our job much simpler. She reaches for a fresh legal pad. Now, let's discuss the to quit. The pen feels heavy in my hand as I sign the formal eviction notice. 30 days. My signature trembles on the final letter. He did what? Denise's good eye widens. Her right eye remains partially covered by a medical patch, but the swelling has subsided since the emergency surgery 2 weeks ago. I sink deeper into the overstuffed armchair in her recovery room after meeting with the lawyer the following day. He's been sleeping on the couch, bearing. When he does talk, I twist my engagement ring. He says once we're married, his family comes first, always. And what about your family? Her fingers curl into fists above the blanket. According to Cole, that's what your wife is for. The bitterness coats my tongue like old coffee. Denise's wife, Sarah, appears in the doorway, arms crossed. You can stay with us, Haley. The guest room is yours if you need it. I shake my head. The house is mine. Legally, completely mine. My voice strengthens with each word. But I might need help with what comes next. The three of us spend the afternoon crafting contingency plans. Sarah's experience as a social worker proves invaluable, as we map out scenarios, safety protocols, escape routes. Just in case. Just in case. On a Saturday evening, the Lost Pines Bar and Grill hasn't changed since Cole first brought me here 6 years ago. Same neon beer signs. Same scarred wooden tables. Same country music threading through conversations and clinking glasses. Different woman sitting at the corner table. My stepfather Randy occupies a booth near the entrance, pretending to watch the Rangers game. Kelly and Marcus, my oldest friends, lean against the bar, strategically angled to monitor the room while appearing absorbed in their own conversation. The velvet ring box sits beside my untouched glass of water. 6 years of dreams and promises wrapped in blue fabric. The ice cubes slowly melt, leaving rings of condensation on the scratched table surface. 6:47 p.m. Cole strides through the door right on time, his photographer's eyes scanning the room before landing on me. His smile falters when he spots the ring box. I take a slow breath. Center myself. Remember the words I've rehearsed. We need to talk about respect, I say as he slides into the seat across from me. About family, about choices. Haley. He reaches for my hand. I pull back. Baby, I know I overreacted about your sister, but you have to understand. I understand perfectly. My fingers brush the edge of the manila envelope beside me. I can't marry someone who doesn't respect my family. He laughs, but the sound holds no warmth. Is this about the dinner? How many times do I have to apologize? This isn't about one dinner. I slide the notice to quit across the table. This is about who you really are. His face transforms as he reads. The charming smile vanishes, replaced by something harder, colder, more genuine. $8,000. He slaps the paper down. That's what I've put into your house, your grandmother's house. His lips curl around the words. I want it back. I have receipts for every shared expense. My voice remains steady despite my racing heart. Rent, utilities, groceries. The improvements were gifts, documented in writing. You have no legal claim. Legal claim? His voice rises. Heads turn at nearby tables. Your sister was just fine. She didn't need you there holding her hand like a child. A real wife would have. A wife should know her place? The words taste like freedom. You've made my place very clear. I stand, tears burning, but refusing to fall. My place is with people who value me. Randy moves closer as Cole's fists clench on the table. The bar grows quiet, dozens of witnesses to this final scene. You'll regret this. Cole's voice drops to a dangerous whisper. When you're alone with no one to take care of you, I'd rather be alone than with someone who makes me choose. I gather my purse, leaving the ring box on the table. You have 30 days to move out. The night air feels clean against my face as I walk to my car. Cole's voice carries from the bar entrance, calling my name, but I don't turn around. My phone buzzes with an unknown number as I reach for my keys. Some calls change everything. This one already has. I don't pick up. Instead, I sit in my car and drive back home. After I came back, I went to the kitchen to actually eat something. My phone vibrates against the kitchen counter, an unknown number lighting up the screen. I almost let it go to voicemail. These days, every unfamiliar call makes my stomach clench, but something stops my finger from hitting decline. Hello? Haley? A woman's voice, familiar but unexpected. It's Nancy, Cole's mother. The wooden spoon slips from my fingers, clattering against the pot of soup I'd been stirring. I grab my keys and head for the front door, some instinct telling me I'll want privacy for this conversation. I need to tell you something about my son. Her voice carries the weight of confession. I slide into my car, close the door, and lean back against the headrest. What is it? The words barely make it past my lips. Cole's been seeing his father again. Jack. She pauses, and I hear her take a shaky breath. He found him on Facebook 6 months ago. They've been meeting in secret. The revelation hits like a physical blow. Cole told me his father disappeared when he was 12, leaving nothing but unpaid bills and a string of restraining orders from former girlfriends. Jack was. Nancy's voice breaks. He hurt us. Not just with his fists. He believed women existed to serve men. That daughters were disappointments. That wives were property. My hands start to shake. Cole never said, because he doesn't know everything. I protected him from the worst of it. A bitter laugh escapes her. Maybe that was my mistake. But now Jack's poisoning him with the same toxic beliefs. A wife's place is to serve her husband. Family obligations come before female independence. The words echo in my head, suddenly familiar. Cole's voice from that night after the hospital. Once we're married, my family comes first. Always. I should have seen it sooner, Nancy continues. The way Cole started pulling away from his brother last year, making excuses not to visit. Tom tried to warn him about Jack, told him he wasn't welcome to stay unless he cut contact. What happened? Cole chose Jack. But Jack, she sighs. Jack rejected him too eventually. Said Cole was too soft, too willing to compromise. Now my son's isolated himself from everyone who truly loves him. I press my forehead against the steering wheel. Why are you telling me this now? Because I watched history repeat itself with my husband, and I did nothing. I won't make the same mistake with my son. Her voice strengthens. You need to know what you're dealing with. Who he's becoming. Thank you, I whisper, meaning it despite the pain her words bring. The next few weeks blur together in a montage of escalating incidents. Cole shows up at his best friend's house, drunk and ranting about female manipulation. They ask him to leave. He appears at another friend's dinner party uninvited, makes crude comments about their teenage daughter. Host calls me, voice shaking with anger. Then one night, I wake to pounding on my front door. The security camera shows Cole on my porch, face contorted with rage as he shouts through the wood. You think you're better than me? You think you can just throw away 6 years? His fist connects with the door again. Open up, Haley, we need to talk. My fingers tremble as I dial 911. When the police arrive, Cole's already gone, but they take my statement. The next morning, I file for a restraining order. The paperwork sits on my kitchen table like a white flag of surrender. 3 days later, my phone rings. Amy, a mutual friend from college. Cole's been arrested. Her words tumble out in a rush. He got into a fight with his father at some bar in San Marcos. Jack's in the hospital with a severe head injury. They're charging Cole with felony assault. I sink into my grandmother's rocking chair, emotions I can't name washing over me. Relief mingles with grief, anger with pity. The man I loved exists somewhere inside the stranger Cole's become. But I can't save him. Maybe I never could. The following week, I visit Denise at her doctor's office. She's preparing for stem cell treatment, her eye healing but still requiring careful monitoring. We sit together in the waiting room, shoulders touching like when we were kids. Sometimes I wonder, I say softly, if that night at the hospital hadn't happened, if I'd gone to Cole's dinner instead. Then we'd both be blind. Denise squeezes my hand. Me physically, you emotionally. You'd still be engaged to someone who wanted to dim your light. Part of me still cares what happens to him. The admission feels like betrayal, but Denise just nods. Caring about someone and being responsible for them are different things, she says. You can wish him healing without sacrificing yourself to make it happen. For the first time in weeks, I feel my lips curve into a genuine smile. I'm learning that now. Later that evening, I packed the last of Cole's belongings into a cardboard box. Old t-shirts, photography magazines, the spare laptop charger he always kept at my house. On top, I placed the engagement ring, its diamond catching the light one final time before disappearing beneath the lid. 6 years of my life, sealed away in brown packing tape. 6 years of dreams that turned into warnings I refused to see. But as I closed the box, I realized those years taught me something invaluable. Sometimes the most compassionate choice you can make is walking away, letting someone face the consequences of their own destruction. I carry the box to my car, ready to drop it at his mother's house. The weight in my arms feels lighter than I expected. Or maybe I'm just stronger than I knew. A month later, the wooden bench in courtroom 4B squeaks beneath me as I shift my weight. Years of other people's anxiety press into its surface. The air conditioning hums overhead, fighting against the July heat that seeps through the tall windows. My hands rest in my lap, fingers loosely intertwined instead of clenched like they were 6 months ago. Cole stands at the defendant's table in a charcoal suit that hangs loose on his frame. The same suit he wore to his cousin's wedding, before everything unraveled. His attorney whispers something, and Cole nods mechanically. Will the defendant please rise? Judge Martinez's voice fills the courtroom, steady and firm. I watch Cole's shoulders tense as he stands. The judge peers over her reading glasses, her expression carved from years of seeing men like him stand before her. Mr. Harrison, this court takes domestic disturbances very seriously. While you've agreed to plead guilty to misdemeanor assault rather than face felony charges, let me be clear. Your actions showed a dangerous lack of control and complete disregard for boundaries. Cole stares at the floor. I remember how he used to hold my gaze across rooms, demanding attention. Now he can't even look at me. The terms of your sentence are as follows. 12 months suspended, mandatory alcohol monitoring, weekly therapy sessions, and a restraining order remaining in effect for 24 months. The judge's gavel cracks against wood. Next case. 2 deputies approach to escort Cole out. As they pass my row, his eyes finally flick toward me just for a moment. I see confusion there, like he still can't understand how we ended up here. Later that day, at the grocery market, the automatic doors at Tom Thumb slide open with a familiar whoosh. I grab a shopping cart, its wheels squeaking in protest as I navigate toward the produce section. The fluorescent lights cast everything in that familiar grocery store glow, making even the organic tomatoes look slightly artificial. Haley? I turn to find Sarah Rogers examining a head of lettuce. We used to have coffee every other Tuesday when she was one of Cole's favorite photography clients. Hi, Sarah. My voice comes out steady, natural. Like this is any other Tuesday. She places the lettuce in her cart with exaggerated care. I heard about, well, everything. Her eyes dart around like she's searching for a safe topic. How are you doing? Oh, I gesture vaguely at my cart. Just getting groceries. Mark, her husband, appears with a bag of apples. His smile freezes when he spots me. Haley, good too. Nice too. He trails off, looking to Sarah for help. The silence stretches between us like taffy, growing thinner and more uncomfortable by the second. Finally, Sarah steps closer, her voice dropping. Are you okay? Really okay? The question catches me off guard with its simple sincerity. My carefully constructed smile wavers. Not yet. The truth slips out before I can stop it. But I will be. Sarah's hand finds my arm, squeezing gently. We've missed you at church. When you're ready, your spot in the choir is still open. My throat tightens. Thank you. That means a lot. We parted and I went back home. The same evening, the porch swing creaks softly as Denise and I rock back and forth, the rhythm as familiar as our childhood. The evening air carries the scent of Mom's gardenias, planted decades ago and still blooming faithful as ever. How's the eye? I ask, studying my sister's profile in the fading light. Denise turns toward me, and I catch the slight reflection in her right eye, the new lens catching the sunset. Better every day. The doctors in Dallas said the stem cell treatment took beautifully. She smiles. Though I have to say, the metaphorical improvement in vision has been even more remarkable. I bump her shoulder with mine. Look who's getting philosophical in her old age. 34 is not old, thank you very much. She bumps me back, then grows serious. Mom called last night. Sunday call came early? No, this was different. She was crying. The swing slows. What happened? She said, I should have been there for both of you. Started talking about Dad, about how after he died, she got so focused on keeping us financially stable that she missed the emotional stuff. Denise picks at a loose thread on her sleeve. Said she won't make that mistake again. My phone buzzes. Mom's name lights up the screen, and for the first time in months, I don't feel the weight of unspoken expectations when I see it. 2 days later, the second bedroom door stands open, late morning light spilling across drop cloths and paint cans. The walls, once a soft yellow meant for a nursery, disappear beneath strokes of stormy sky blue. My grandmother would appreciate the irony. The paint roller makes satisfying swooshing sounds as I work, covering the last traces of the future Cole and I had planned. Each stroke feels like reclaiming territory. Something crinkles under my foot as I shift the ladder. I look down to find a folded paper that must have fallen from the closet shelf. Cole's distinctive architect's handwriting fills the page with bullet points. Our 5-year plan. Buy the lake house. Join country club. Have first baby. Move Haley's business to part-time. Family dinners every Sunday with my parents. The paper crumples easily in my fist. Outside the window, a cardinal lands on the old oak, tree bright red against green leaves. My grandmother used to say cardinals were visitors from heaven. I toss Cole's plans in the trash and pick up my roller again. This room has better futures to hold. 6 months later, my dining room hums with conversation and laughter. The table that once endured Cole's family's stony silences now holds platters of food and bottles of wine, surrounded by people who choose to be here. Denise raises her glass, the overhead light catching her right eye just so. To new beginnings. And second chances, adds her wife Rachel, squeezing my hand. I look around the table at my mother, actually listening to my stepdad's fishing stories, at Sarah and Mark arguing playfully about his latest kitchen experiment, at the empty chair that no longer feels like an accusation. My chest expands with something that feels like freedom. The envelope arrives on a Tuesday, forwarded from my attorney's office. Inside, a simple letter informs me that Cole has taken a job in San Marcos, that he's completing his court-ordered therapy, that he's making progress. I read it twice, waiting for some emotional tidal wave to hit. Instead, I feel nothing but a quiet acknowledgement, like hearing about a storm that's moved on to another coast. That evening, another letter arrives, this one from Nancy, Cole's mother. Her words flow across 3 pages, thanking me for having the strength to show her son the consequences of his choices, for helping her see what she'd been afraid to acknowledge. I fold both letters and place them in my grandmother's old recipe box, now repurposed for holding memories I don't need to carry every day. Some stories don't need a perfect ending to be complete. The next morning, the doorbell chimes just as I'm finishing my morning coffee. On the porch, a delivery man holds a bouquet of pink peonies, me grandmother's favorites, the ones that grew wild along her fence line every spring. The card is small, white, simple. You would have made her proud. I recognize my mother's handwriting, but the message echoes with my grandmother's voice. Standing in the doorway, holding flowers that smell like memory and promise, I finally understand what she meant all those years ago when she said, "The strongest choices are the ones that bring you home to yourself." Coming to myself and choosing myself first wasn't a place, it was a choice I made, again and again, until it finally felt like living. And now, a year later, sunlight streams through the kitchen window, catching dust motes that dance above a plate of fresh-baked scones. The recipe card, yellowed and creased, bears my grandmother's flowing script. For celebrations big and small, she wrote at the bottom. Today qualifies us both. 1 year. Denise lifts her coffee mug, sunglasses perched atop her head. Her right eye, once clouded with fear and uncertainty, now sparkles with its usual mischief. Can you believe it? I touch my own sunglasses, matching pairs we bought last month, when Denise's doctor finally cleared her for full sun exposure. Best worst day of my life. She snorts. Only you would find the bright side of racing through a thunderstorm while your fiancé blew up your phone. Former fiancé, I correct. But the word has lost its sting. And I found more than a bright side. I found myself. Denise reaches across the kitchen table, squeezing my hand. A year ago, that same hand trembled as she pressed it against her eye in the emergency room. Now it's steady, strong, like both of us. Want the grand tour? I stand, gesturing at the renovated space around us. You haven't seen the finished product. The kitchen gleams with fresh paint and new hardware, but grandmother's antique spice rack still claims pride of place above the stove. The dried roses from her garden, now framed, add splashes of color against sage green walls. You kept the wallpaper. Denise runs her fingers along the small strip I preserved in the breakfast nook, featuring delicate yellow teacups. Some things are worth saving. I lead her into the living room where my artwork now hangs, where Cole's photography once dominated. Others needed to go. Denise pauses at the master bedroom doorway. Oh, Haley. The room breathes serenity. Gone are the heavy drapes Cole insisted on, replaced by gauzy curtains that filter sunshine into gentle gold. My grandmother's quilts dress the bed in cheerful patterns. The walls, once stark white, now wear the palest blush pink. Remember when I couldn't sleep in here? I perch on the window seat. Now it's my favorite room. Speaking of favorites, Denise settles beside me. I found a lot, just 3 streets over. The architect meets with me next week. Warmth blooms in my chest. You're really doing it? Moving back? Family is who shows up when it matters. She bumps my shoulder. You showed up, now it's my turn. The words echo as we continue our tour. Family shows up in the fresh stain on the deck, applied under my stepdad's patient instruction. In the weekly video calls with Mom, who now asks about my latest clients instead of my dating life. In the dining room table where I host monthly dinners, chairs filled with the people who choose to be there. Did you hear about Cole? Denise asks later as we sort through old photos on the porch. Her tone stays carefully neutral. The therapy? I nod. Jenny mentioned it. There was a letter too through his attorney. And? I select a photo of grandmother in her garden, smiling at something beyond the camera's frame. I'm glad he's getting help, but forgiveness doesn't always mean reconnection. You know what's funny? Denise adjusts her sunglasses against the late afternoon glare. I realized last week that I hadn't thought about that night in ages. The emergency, the surgery, all of it, just a scar now, barely visible unless you know where to look. Like the indent on my ring finger, long faded. The engagement ring sold months ago. Its proceeds helping other women find their way to freedom. Like the business card tucked in my desk drawer, left by a kind-eyed architect who noticed me reading alone at the cafe. Not yet, but maybe someday. The porch swing creaks gently, as shadows lengthen across the lawn. My grandmother spent countless evenings here, watching the world pass while staying rooted in who she was. I catch my reflection in the window glass, her chin, her quiet strength. Beside, Denise reminds me how far we've come. Free, I whisper to the gathering dusk. Not just safe, not just settled, but truly free. Denise leans her head against my shoulder. What are you thinking about? That some storms show you what needs rebuilding. I wrap an arm around her shoulders, and some foundations are stronger than you think.